If your name isn't on this list, your April payment could be delayed, reduced, or completely missed. The Social Security Administration just quietly updated its April 2025 payment schedule, and millions of Americans are already confused about where they stand. Here's what most people don't know. Your payment date, your payment amount, and even your eligibility this April depends on 3 specific factors: your birth date, your benefit type, and when you first filed for Social Security. And right now, with the new 2025 COLA adjustment fully in effect, the threshold numbers have shifted. That means some people who were receiving full benefits are now falling into a different bracket, and they have no idea. Whether you're on retirement benefits, SSDI, SSI, or spousal benefits, the April list works differently for each one. And if you assumed last month's payment schedule still applies, that assumption could cost you. Stay right here, because in the next few minutes, you're going to know exactly where your name falls on that list. Let's start with the basics, because a lot of people skip over this part, and that's exactly where the confusion begins. Social Security in April 2025 is not a one-size-fits-all situation. The Social Security Administration operates on a very specific payment calendar, and that calendar is built around a system that most beneficiaries were never properly explained when they first signed up. So if you've been receiving your payment on a certain date every month, and you suddenly notice it looks different this April, or worse, it hasn't shown up when you expected it, this is exactly why. The SSA divides its retirement and disability beneficiaries into groups based on birth date. Specifically, they look at the day of the month you were born, not the month itself, not the year, just the day. If you were born on the 1st through the 10th of any month, your Social Security payment arrives on the 2nd Wednesday of the month. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, your payment comes on the 3rd Wednesday. And if you were born between the 21st and the 31st, your payment lands on the 4th Wednesday of the month. This system has been in place for decades, but what changes year to year is where those Wednesdays actually fall on the calendar. And in April 2025, the spacing of those Wednesdays matters more than usual because of how the month lines up. Now, here's where it gets important. Not everyone follows that Wednesday schedule. If you started receiving Social Security benefits before May 1997, and there are still Americans in that category, you receive your payment on the 3rd of every month, regardless of your birth date. That's a completely separate track. And if you receive Supplemental Security Income, which is SSI, your payment schedule is different again. SSI recipients are generally paid on the 1st of each month. But when the 1st falls on a weekend or a federal holiday, that payment gets moved to the last business day of the prior month. So in some cases, what looks like an early payment is actually your regular April payment. It just arrived in late March. That trips a lot of people up every single year, and it causes unnecessary panic when people think they've been skipped or underpaid. So let's talk about who specifically qualifies for April payments and what the actual dates look like. In April 2025, SSI recipients received or will receive their payment on April 1st, since it falls on a Tuesday this year. For retirement and SSDI beneficiaries on the Wednesday schedule, the 2nd Wednesday of April is April 9th. That goes to everyone born on the 1st through the 10th. The 3rd Wednesday is April 16th, covering birthdays from the 11th through the 20th. And the 4th Wednesday is April 23rd, which is for everyone born between the 21st and the 31st. And again, if you've been on Social Security since before May 1997, your payment came on April 3rd. These are the 5 primary payment dates for April, and if you're a qualifying beneficiary, your name is on one of those 5 lists, whether you know it or not. But qualifying for an April payment isn't just about being on the schedule. There are eligibility conditions that the SSA reviews on an ongoing basis, and certain life events or income changes can affect whether you receive your full benefit, a reduced benefit, or in some cases, no benefit at all for a given month. This is the part that most people don't hear about until it's already affected their bank account. So let's walk through the major factors that determine whether your April payment is accurate and complete. The first thing to understand is the earnings test, and this applies specifically to people who are receiving Social Security retirement benefits, but are still working and have not yet reached their full retirement age. In 2025, if you are under your full retirement age for the entire year and you earn more than $22,320, the SSA will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above that limit. Now, if you reach your full retirement age sometime during 2025, the rules are slightly more generous. The limit goes up to $59,520, and the withholding drops to $1 for every $3 above the limit. Once you hit full retirement age, the earnings test disappears entirely, and you can work as much as you want without it affecting your monthly payment. But if you're in that window where you're still working and still collecting early benefits, your April payment may be less than what you expected, and that's not an error, that's the earnings test in action. The second major factor is the COLA adjustment that went into effect in January 2025. The cost of living adjustment for 2025 was set at 2.5%. That sounds like a modest number, but when you apply it across the board, it means real dollar increases for tens of millions of Americans. The average Social Security retirement benefit before the COLA increase was around $1,907 per month. After the 2.5% adjustment, that average moved up to approximately $1,956. For SSI recipients, the federal maximum monthly payment went from $943 to $967 for individuals, and from $1,415 to $1,450 for couples. These increases were automatic and should already be reflected in your April payment. If you are not seeing those higher numbers, you need to contact the SSA directly, because that's a discrepancy that needs to be addressed. Now let's talk about Medicare premiums, because this is a factor that a huge number of Social Security recipients overlook when they're trying to figure out why their deposit looks smaller than expected. If you are enrolled in Medicare Part B, your premium is automatically deducted from your Social Security benefit before it ever hits your bank account. In 2025, the standard Medicare Part B premium increased to $185 per month. That's up from $174.70 in 2024. So even though your benefit went up by 2.5% thanks to COLA, some of that increase was immediately offset by the higher Medicare premium. For someone receiving an average benefit, the net gain after the premium increase is noticeably smaller than the headline COLA number suggested. This is not a mistake, and it's not the government taking money from you. It's just the way the two programs interact, and understanding it helps you plan your budget accurately. There's also the issue of income-related Medicare adjustments, which the SSA calls IRMA A, the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. If your income from 2 years ago exceeded $85,000 as an individual or $170,000 as a married couple filing jointly, you're paying a higher Medicare Part B premium than the standard rate. The SSA bases this on your 2023 tax return, since that's the most recent complete tax data available in 2025. So if you had a higher income year in 2023, maybe you sold property, took a large retirement distribution, or had some other one-time income event, that could be inflating your Medicare premium right now and reducing your net Social Security payment. The good news is that you can appeal this adjustment if your income has since gone down. You file what's called a life-changing event appeal with the SSA, and if approved, they'll recalculate your premium based on your more recent income situation. Let's shift and talk about SSDI recipients, because the rules around Social Security disability insurance have some specific nuances for April 2025 that are worth walking through carefully. If you're on SSDI, your payment date follows the same Wednesday birthday-based schedule as retirement beneficiaries, unless, again, you've been receiving benefits since before May 1997, in which case you're on the third of the month schedule. But what's critically important for SSDI recipients this April is understanding the substantial gainful activity limits. In 2025, the SGA threshold for non-blind SSDI recipients is $1,550 per month. For blind recipients, that threshold is $2,590. If you're on SSDI and your earnings exceed these amounts, the SSA may determine that you're no longer disabled for benefit purposes, which can trigger a review and potentially a suspension of your payments. This isn't a trap. the SSA actually encourages people to try returning to work through their Ticket to Work program. But you need to know where the line is so you don't accidentally cross it without being prepared for the consequences. Another group that often gets overlooked in these conversations is spousal and survivor beneficiaries. If you're receiving Social Security based on your spouse's work record, either as a current spouse or as a surviving widow or widower, your April payment is subject to its own set of rules. Spousal benefits are generally capped at 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefit amount. Survivor benefits can be as high as 100% of what your deceased spouse was receiving, but both of these amounts can be reduced if you claimed them early, meaning before your own full retirement age. And in 2025, the full retirement age for people born in 1959 is 66 years and 10 months. If you're a survivor or spousal beneficiary who hasn't yet reached that age and you're already collecting, your benefit has a permanent reduction applied to it. That reduction doesn't go away when you reach full retirement age. It stays in place for the rest of your life. A lot of people don't fully absorb this when they first apply, and then they spend years wondering why their payment is lower than they expected. There's one more situation that affects April payments, and it's one that doesn't get nearly enough attention. If you are receiving both SSI and Social Security retirement or SSDI benefits at the same time, what the SSA calls concurrent benefits, then your April situation involves two separate payment streams with two separate rule sets. Your Social Security payment still comes on your designated Wednesday. Your SSI payment comes on the 1st, but your SSI amount is reduced dollar for dollar by most of the Social Security income you receive, after a small exclusion. In 2025, the SSA excludes the first $20 of Social Security income when calculating how much to reduce your SSI. So if your Social Security benefit is $400 a month, your SSI payment gets reduced by $380. This is confusing on paper, but it matters enormously when you're trying to figure out if your total April income is what it should be. Something else worth addressing is direct deposit timing, because the actual day money appears in your account isn't always the same as the official SSA payment date. Most banks post Social Security direct deposits on the payment date or even one business day early, but some smaller banks and credit unions process deposits differently, and mobile banking apps sometimes show pending transactions before they actually clear. If your payment date is April 9th and the money isn't visible in your account by April 10th, that's when you should start making inquiries. First with your bank and then with the SSA if your bank confirms nothing is incoming. Do not wait 2 weeks before checking. The SSA has a process for reporting and resolving missing payments, and acting early makes the resolution faster. And if you receive your Social Security payment by paper check rather than direct deposit, add 2 to 5 business days to whatever your official payment date is. Paper checks go out on the same schedule, but mail delivery adds time. The SSA has been strongly encouraging all beneficiaries to switch to direct deposit for years because it's faster, more secure, and not affected by postal delays or lost mail. If you're still on paper checks and you haven't already made the switch, now is genuinely a good time to do it. You can set it up online at ssa.gov, by phone, or in person at your local Social Security office. Now let's talk about what to actually do if something about your April payment doesn't look right. The very first step is to log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. This is the fastest way to see your current benefit amount, your payment history, and whether any deductions or adjustments have been applied to your account. If you haven't set up your My Social Security account yet, you should do that today. Not because something is necessarily wrong, but because having access to your own account information puts you in control. You can verify everything from your benefit amount to your Medicare deductions to your earnings history from one place. If you see something in your account that doesn't match what you expected, or if your payment simply hasn't arrived, the next step is to call the SSA at 1-800-772-1213. They're available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. Wait times can be long, especially earlier in the week, so calling on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday morning tends to get you through faster. If you prefer to handle things in person, you can also visit your nearest Social Security office. Just make sure to bring your Social Security card or number, a valid photo ID, and any recent correspondence you've received from the SSA. The bottom line on all of this is straightforward. April 2025 payments are going out on schedule, the COLA increase is in effect, and if you meet the eligibility criteria for your benefit type, your money is coming. But knowing the exact dates, understanding what affects your net amount, and knowing what to do if something goes wrong, that's the difference between feeling secure and feeling anxious every single month. You've earned these benefits. You deserve to understand exactly how they work.